Hello again, it's me, Miss Meshover, and we are going to multiply by using the area model strategy today. And that is one of my personal favorites. So, before we talk about how to get to the nitty-gritty, let's talk about what area is. So, you may have seen before in math class that you are asked to find the perimeter of a shape. Perimeter is the outside of a shape. So I just outlined the outside of this slide in white. And if I had a ruler, I would measure, and I would be able to find out the measurements of the length, which is up on the top, the length, and the width. I would be able to figure out all four sides of this whiteboard and add them up to find the perimeter. In order to find the area, that is the space within this shape, I need to multiply the length times the width. So we can remember that by saying length, L, times W, width, equals area. Let's keep that in mind as we solve for the area of our multiplication problem. Before we get started, this is one of my favorite types of strategies because you're going to be seeing a lot of zeros, and I love multiplying with zeros. So for instance, you may need to multiply 60 times 60. Now, I know what you're saying. Oh my gosh, those are two really big numbers. How am I going to be able to multiply those? Well, you are in luck because if you just take away the 0 for one moment and look at the 6, we're just going to multiply any number that has value. So zeros don't have value, 6 does. So I'm going to look at this 6 times this 6. 6 times 6 is 36. So I write that in my answer. Now I think about how many zeros I had in the original number. Looks like 2. So I'm going to add 2 zeros into my answer. And then I have solved for the product. 3,600. Let's try another one. I have 500 times 30. Whoa. Remember, you look for only the digits that have value. In this case, they are 5 and 3. So 5 times 3 is 15. Write that in your answer. And figure out how many zeros were in the problem. Looks like 3. So I'm going to write 3 zeros in my answer. Put in my comma, and my answer is 15,000. All right, let's get started on a problem. Here, my two factors I'm multiplying are 524 and 65, and I need to find the product. So in order to use the area model method, I'm going to create a box or rectangle. Inside my rectangle is where the area would be. So I'm going to have to figure out what would be on the outside first, because remember, length times width is area. I can think about 524 as my length and 65 as my width. Okay, before I do that, I need to think about how I can break apart my numbers. I need to think about the value of each of these digits. So the value of 4, since it's in the ones place, is 4. I'm going to write that down on this side. The value of the 2 is 20. I'll write that down here. And the value of the 5, since it's in the hundreds place, is 500. On the side where the width would go, I'm going to put in 65. The value of 6 in 65 is 60. And the value of the 5 is just 5 since it's in the ones place. Now I'm going to make my grid. What's special about area is that these numbers take up a certain amount of space. So because I have a 500, that's a lot larger than 20, so it's going to take up more space. 20 is larger than 4, but not by that much. So I'm going to give it its own space. And there's 4. 60 is a lot larger than 5, so it's going to get its own space as a lot larger than 5. Now I'm going to multiply. I'm going to start off with the 4. 4 is going to multiply with the 60 and the 5. 60 times 4, well, I think 6 times 4 is 24, and add in my 1 0. 4 times 5 is 20. Moving over to the 20 column, 20 is now going to multiply with 60. 2 times 6 is 12. There are 2 zeros left over, so I'm going to add them in. Then 20 times 5, 2 times 5 is 10, with 1 0 from the 20. And now I'm in the 500 column. 500 times 60, or 5 times 6 is 30. And there are 1, 2, 3 zeros, so I add those 3 in. 1, 2, 3. Last but not least, 500 times 5. 5 times 5 is 25, and 1, 2 zeros. I filled in all of the area. I'm thinking about how this length times this width would take up these amounts of space. That's why this is called the area model. After I've multiplied, I now need to add or find the sum of all of the values inside of our area. Because if you see, it's all broken down into different rectangles, but I want to solve for the entire rectangle. So I need to line up my values. I'm going to start with the largest one, the 30,000. And after I use it, I give it a little check, so I know that I definitely wrote it down. It helps me remember that I got all the values. So check. All right. Now the next value is 2,500. Notice how I am making sure that I line up my digits correctly, so my math is going to eventually be correct. Lining up the values is very, very important. Check. All right. Next largest value, 240. I know there's 100 and a 20. All right, go ahead. I'm going to check off each of those. Got all 3 of those last values. I should have 6 numbers that I'm ready to add up. And I'm going to go ahead and add 0, 4, 5, 6, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Keep my 0, regroup the 1, 2, 3, 4. And bring my 3 on down. My comma goes after 1, 2, 3 digits, and there's a comma. All right, we found our answer, 34,060. There we go. There's our product. Alrighty, if you have any questions, please make sure you comment below. Have a wonderful day. Keep being awesome.